Let me be honest. I love a good wizard build. There's just something about the optionality of having spells at your disposal that is particularly appealing to me. Make no mistake, I do not love a caster build. That is quite different from what I would consider a wizard build. I still very much care for the melee combat of the Souls games, to the point where I believe that should be the primary focus of your experience. But as it has been noted time and time again, it's nice to have another option to spice up your game with. Being able to pepper in a couple of spells in between your strikes makes you more interesting as a combatant, and definitely more interesting as an invader. The problem is, I'm a cunt, and I kind of went overboard with the spells. My intention in doing these invasions, which are at soul level 40, plus 10 on the Nintendo Switch console, was to have a primarily melee-centered build that has access to a nuclear option in the event I want to kill someone. And this guy fucking around with Chameleon pissed me off for some reason, so I whipped out the Dark Beat on him. Also, I had chased him around for like 5 minutes before this, so I was getting really annoyed. Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, the idea was to have a build that could function as a melee fighter, and then have access to spells in the event I absolutely needed them. The problem was that I felt like I absolutely needed them a lot more than I really did. Now, something we have to consider here is that this build has no poise, just zero poise. I much preferred to have either the flip ring or the Ring of Steel protection on than to even bother with the Wolf Ring. In favor of not dying, pretty much. Even with, like, however much humanity I had at the time, even up to 99, plus 5, plus 10 weapons would punch straight through my defenses. I'd be dead in 2 or 3 hits. So, I had to consider that when I was undertaking these invasions. Also, I didn't have a very firm grasp on how powerful Homing Crystal Soulmass really was, especially when cast with the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, which made it really, really obscene, to the point where it was basically Pursuer's strength on whoever I used it on. And I didn't really account for that until later, and then I switched it for like the regular Homing Soulmass when I had the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, and then I like switched to the Izalith Catalyst. It was just a whole thing. I was mainly trying not to one-shot people with it, but that kind of ended up happening anyway, despite my best efforts. 40 plus 10 is probably my favorite range for invading in Dark Souls Remastered, because you get a very, very wide range of areas that you get to invade. You can invade all the way down from the depths, way up to Anor Londo, and then you can even poke your head into like Izalith and the Tomb of the Giants if you wanted to, or even the Duke's Archives every now and again. The Duke's Archives are not really an invasion hotspot, but it's fun to be there every once in a while. And of course, the woods. I mean, you can go to the woods. It's not as fun to invade in the woods as a red as it would be to invade as a, forest hunter, because you get a friend. But you could do whatever you feel like. I sort of anchored myself in Anor Londo because I was just getting invasion after invasion after invasion, so I just kind of hung around. And then I moved to the depths for a little bit. I tried Blight Town, I tried the Duke's Archives, and I only got 1 or 2 in each of those. So it was nice being in Londo for a bit. Anor Londo is nice to look at, so there's always that. The level design is good, it's just big enough that you don't get caught on too many corners, and it's closed enough that you can almost always find where someone is through process of elimination. It's just a nice area. Many an invader before me has lauded the joys of invading in Anor Londo, and I'm simply here to affirm that every time someone says they like invading in Anor Londo, that they are absolutely right to have that opinion. I think it was around this point where I realized that the homing crystal soul mass on the tin crystallization catalyst was far too much for what I was trying to do. One of my favorite setups with this build was like a double Chaos Cestus setup, where I would just kind of punch people to death. This is that idiot before that had the chameleon on, so I, being already annoyed at him, was ready to whip out the wand and just finish him up. Darkbeat is nice because it's essentially the equivalent of pulling a gun on your opponent. There's no way that they could possibly block or deal with it, so if you want to just get rid of a phantom, or a host for that matter, then you can whip out Darkbeat, and then they're gone. And then it's over, and you can leave. To be honest, I think I ended up doing that a few more times than I absolutely had to, but after a certain point, there's like a threshold where once someone crosses it, I'm in Darkbeat territory, and then once I feel like I have to use Darkbeat, there's just no stopping me. Sometimes it'll be over like stupid shit, like a host healing or whatever, and then other times it'll be like, oh, I got backstabbed because I'm an idiot. I'd better Darkbeat them. Here I didn't go for Darkbeat, but I went for Homing Crystal Soul Mass, which, as we've seen, is already as strong as that. But I got a backstab on them instead, so I mean, like, honestly, it could have been much worse. I like to think of Darkbeat like my saw cleaver. If I want someone gone instantly, then I can just take it out and do it. And in Bloodborne, if there is a summon, you bet your ass I'm gonna do it, because you can be stun-locked to death by any two players, so I kind of have to get rid of them. Another important thing to note is that Homing Crystal Soul Mass is easily dodgeable. You can trigger it and then dodge it on reaction pretty much every time. And if you've only got one invader, like, there's not a whole lot to dodge. And this person displays that until they don't. The thing you cannot dodge is Pursuers, which you essentially have to run away from for the entirety of its duration. But Homing Crystal Soul Mass you can dodge. Every time. On reaction. No fail. It's not that hard. Even with a medium roll, you could dodge it pretty consistently. And definitely enough to get yourself in a position that you could get a backstab off. So with no poise and using Homing Crystal Soul Mass, you have to say at some point that, like, no matter what you did, you probably would have won the invasion regardless. Even Darkbeat is dodgeable to some extent. You can definitely react to the arm being raised and the dark magic swirl visual effect, and then not die to it, at least. Now, I'm not defending Darkbeat by any stretch of the imagination. That thing's a friggin' shotgun. But I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't have counterplay, because there is something that you can do for it. Now, if a gank is using Darkbeat, that's a different story. That's an entirely different dynamic. A gank using Darkbeat is like, I don't know, having the US military set on you or something. A gank with Darkbeat and Homing Crystal Soul Mass and Crystal Soul Spear is substantially more menacing than me using it. Like, look, even just panic rolling, this guy can get away from Homing Crystal Soul Mass if I don't, like, trigger it perfectly by facing him at a specific time. And even then, the travel time, because it's a projectile and it goes in a straight line and it doesn't have any homing, it's pretty difficult even to catch someone that's panic rolling away from you. And then I got one invasion in Dark Anor Londo, and it took me an eternity to find this person. And I was quite mad at this point, so I did end up using a lot of magic on them. And they also were a magician, which, coincidentally, will make my spells do more damage to them. But I was pretty angry, so I used Pursuers, and then I just kind of chased them around. Once again, this person did not even make an attempt to dodge, so I can't really feel that bad. Especially when they just stood in my face with their shield after trying to spam me with spells. So, like, who's really to blame here? To be honest, I don't even think I encountered that many mages, as it were. Only this one and the previous one, at most. And these Chaos Cestus don't do very much damage at all. At least proportionally to, like, the other options that I have at my disposal. They just do a little bit more damage than the Magic Cestus, plus 10. So I figured that I could just use these for the time being. And then switch back and forth between them. It's a little sad that it's fire damage instead of magic damage, but the visual effect on the magic damage isn't even really that impressive anyway. Also, this spider shield is really popular. I don't really know why. Is it even, like, that good of a shield? I'm sure it's okay, but, like, I don't know why everyone has it. I guess you pick it up in the Valley of the Drakes, and then it's just, like, your thing to use. I don't know. I'm not one for shields very much as it is. I only have a parry tool on me, like the small leather shield, to do chain backstabs if I feel like it. And even then, I hardly ever use it for anything else. This last invasion was pretty fun, but it kept dragging on and I got annoyed at the Sunbro, who, true to form, was absolutely playing the part. This cosplay is surprisingly faithful because he actually uses lightning miracles, and he has the shield, and he has the correct sword. So, proud of him. Quite proud. Proud enough to use Dark Bead on him. I have a nasty habit of throwing Dark Beads at the host when I should just be trying to get rid of the Phantom and then give the host a fair fight. But I end up just kind of throwing it at whoever's on me because I want them to stop hitting me. This is the turmoil of having to use a build like this with no poise. Though I'm sure that with, like, 99 humanity and the Wolf Ring, that I would have more than enough defense to get through an invasion like this. And then the poise... Actually, the poise might be overkill. The fact that they can stagger me is the only thing stopping them from dying at this point. And even then... I had high hopes for this Sunbro, but at a certain point it started to piss me off, so I had to bid him farewell. Especially with some of this latency. Now I could have gone for like a setup parry here or whatever, but I didn't. I just wanted to swing into him mindlessly and I couldn't get away with it. They're not really being very aggressive at all, so I'm allowed to get away with essentially whatever I want here. It's not like they could even stun lock me if they wanted to. I wonder what upgrade level that Claymore is, because it's not doing very much damage at all. And I think my defense is like 280 or something. It's very possible that he's gotten to this point and only done +5, which is his detriment, not mine. I don't give a shit. As you'll see here, the Homing Crystal Soul Mass is substantially less dangerous when cast from a normal catalyst, like the Izalith Catalyst, The Izalith Catalyst, Sorcerer's Catalyst, and Beatrice's Catalyst all have like the same magic adjust, so I just kind of used them interchangeably. But, I mean, this will not one-shot, so I just kind of kept throwing it at him, and he didn't even try to dodge it, so not my problem. Get out of my hair. Oh, demon souls, where are you? Where could you be, PS5? Well, hopefully I'll be able to get it soon. Preferably by year's end, but we'll have to see. Farewell, my fellow wizards and wizard enthusiasts. I'll see you in another video.